By Hollywood standards, I would say it's a pretty decent puppet. Well, to be honest with you, I would love to buy this being real, but it's probably a hoax. Well, I think this is a really cool design, and it's a great concept, but I think I could have done better. Whoever did this, I mean, they could have a job in Hollywood in a minute, no problem. This one has a much creepier quality than the alien autopsy tape, I think. That one I definitely didn't buy just because of the way it laid on the table. There was a couple of things. This actually, whoever did this was, or if someone did this, they were very clever because it hides a lot of stuff. So that's what makes me kind of disbelieve it a little bit. But, who knows?
Criswell thought the alien exhibited movements that would be difficult to fake.
There are moments when this looks very real, and I don't know how they did certain little things about this. So right when I would say that it's definitely a puppet, he moves a certain way, or he'll lift up in the frame and all that, and all these little things are important to the to the character of him.
Academy Award winner Rick Baker is one of Hollywood's reigning masters of makeup effects. He transformed Eddie Murphy into a 300-pound man for The Nutty Professor and has created monsters for countless films, including An American Werewolf in London and the UFO-related Men in Black. Baker dismissed the tape as a fake.
Yeah, this doesn't fool me. I don't buy this. I think this is a puppet, and you've got a table in the foreground that's hiding the rest of its body. You've got some kind of, whatever that instrument is in the foreground, it's hiding. It's also lit very mysteriously. I think if you were going to record this alien, you would want to see it, and you wouldn't want to hide it behind a table, and you would light it in a way that would show up much more than this. This particular movement, this head-jerking movement here especially, looks very puppety to me. It looks a little overdone and very much like a guy with his hand inside this thing maneuvering it. I guess he's supposed to be ill here. Is that what's going on? It just looks like they went to a great deal of effort to hide as much of the anatomy other than the head on this puppet, and I just don't buy it. I would be willing to stake my reputation on the fact that I think this is a hoax. It's very interesting to see them.
In Baker's opinion, there was no controversy at all.
It's a fake, in my opinion. We could build better. We have built better, actually.
UFO expert Robert Dean, on the other hand, had no doubt whatsoever that the tape was authentic.
This is powerful because this is not a staged event. This is real.
In the 1960s, Robert O. Dean served as an Army intelligence analyst at NATO headquarters in Europe, where he claims to have seen first-hand evidence of alien beings and their artifacts. Retired from the Army, he is now a highly regarded UFO researcher and analyst. Dean was asked to view the tape and offer his expert opinion.
They're treating him like a piece of livestock, wiping his lips.
Calling on his own first-hand experience for comparison, Robert Dean was stunned and moved by what he saw.
That breaks my heart. I think you've got yourself a piece of legitimate footage here, and I think you've got your hands on some pretty sensitive material. I don't know how the hell you got this. I don't know who you got it from, and frankly, I don't want to know who you got it from. But you got yourself a tiger by the tail with this footage. I would say, and I know that that's one of the things you ask of me, is that you've got yourself some legitimate footage of one of the little guys being interrogated and filmed. And there's a reality to it, and there's a sensitivity to it that literally breaks my heart. But I tell you very strongly, you've got something here that is very sensitive. Well, I know that the level of classification on this kind of a thing is so far damned above top secret that you can't imagine how sensitive this kind of thing is. and how delicate it is and how tightly the government sits on anything like this.
Sean Morton looked for clues to the tape's authenticity in the technical details of the interview's setting.
Okay, there's a couple of interesting things about the tape right off the bat.
Morton tried to decipher the time code at the bottom of the screen.
First off, what you're looking at in the time code is DNI's Department of Naval Intelligence. So Department of Naval Intelligence, this would probably be a file number 27. It could be a security level, however, because security levels are supposedly go up to Q36, or the highest ones that we know about. The first interesting thing about that is that I'm noticing what looks like a medical monitor, and look at how slowly and erratic the heartbeat is. The heartbeat is literally 1, 2. It's very, very erratic, and it looks as though the heartbeat being as erratic as it is only about, from counting that, it looks like it's about 30 a minute or so.
Morton suggested an alternate explanation for the video's dim lighting.
One of the unusual things about most of these particular race of aliens is they are very, very sensitive to light. So a lot of these interviews are conducted in very darkened rooms.
To Morton's eye, many features of this alien dovetailed with accounts of other first-hand contactees.
Another strange thing about the physiognomy of these creatures is, as well, is if you will notice that the neck itself is not at the back of the head like a human being is. The neck is actually in the center of the head, which is what actually gives it problems holding its head and its neck up. Whatever this is, it's being taken, the interview is actually being done through a piece of glass, which is probably something somebody faking the photographs probably wouldn't think about. Right there we see that the creature appears to be choking. The dark eyes, in many cases, are actually a form of lens that guards the creature against untoward sunlight. It's a remarkable piece of footage. I mean, it's very, 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 very interesting. If it's a hoax, it's very well done. If it's not, then I would say it's probably revolutionary.
Another expert who was asked to examine the tape was Michael Hesseman, one of Europe's leading UFO researchers and author of the international bestseller Beyond Roswell.
When I got the first information about the alien interview footage, and when I saw the first picture, I said there might be a connection to a real incident.
Hesseman was intrigued both by the alien's appearance and by Victor's claim that the being arrived at Area 51 in 1989.
If it is authentic, it might be the most significant film ever published, ever shown on television.
For several years now, Hesseman has been investigating reports that the South African Air Force shot down a flying saucer in the Kalahari Desert in 1989. According to Hesseman's sources, 2 survivors were retrieved from the downed saucer. One was sent to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, and the other to Area 51. The extraterrestrial in Victor's tape bears a striking resemblance to descriptions of the Kalahari ET, and the timing of its appearance at Area 51 is consistent with the South African incident.
If you see the drawings we have of the Kalahari alien and the descriptions we have, it seems to be the same being. And the Kalahari incident puts the alien interview footage into a context and gives it at least a probability that it might be real. It might be the real stuff, we just don't know.
Whitley Strieber, best-selling author of Communion, claims to have had numerous personal contacts with alien beings. He has become the de facto spokesman for the growing number of people who claim to have been abducted by extraterrestrials. The nationally syndicated television program Strange Universe asked Strieber and several other abductees to view the alien interview tape. What Strieber saw left him profoundly shaken. Strieber would not agree to be interviewed on camera for this program, but on Strange Universe, he had this to say. On May 23, 1997, Victor gave a radio interview on the nationally syndicated show Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Speaking by telephone from an unknown location, Victor answered questions from host Art Bell and his guest, UFO expert Sean Morton.
From the Kingdom of Nye, Coast to Coast AM continues with Art Bell.
It is going to be a very interesting morning. Let's see if we've got Victor on the line. Victor, are you there?
I'm here.
Welcome to the program, Victor.
Afterwards, this is what Bell and Morton had to say about Victor's credibility.
What a hell of an interview, huh?
Boy, oh boy, talk about making history on the radio. It was, as far as I could tell, he answered every question properly, as far as exactly where the locations are, to the descriptions of the the transports, the 737s, to the CTS-43s, the retinal scans, the 5 levels at S4.
A veteran of countless controversial interviews, Art Bell still found himself impressed by his encounter with Victor.
In the first, I think, half hour, I sensed that I was getting a kind of a runaround, or that I was not satisfied with the quality of the answers that I was being given. But as the interview progressed, and Victor, to some degree, began to relax, I began to get a different sense, and that was that he was telling me the truth. I think Victor was scared. I think Victor really is scared. And so my judgment of the interview after about the first, maybe 20 minutes, half hour, is that we began to get some real information. It was a significant milestone. There's no question about that in broadcasting.
If the government has really been in contact with superior aliens, wouldn't we see some evidence of it? For instance, amazing new scientific discoveries.
Limitless free energy? A cure for cancer? We might if the government's motive were the betterment of mankind. The government's motive is control. And just as much as they crave control, they fear loss of control. Knowledge is power, but power does not necessarily confer competence. The people at the top of this program are intellectually very average. They're not capable of making proper use of what's been handed to them, but they have no intention of letting anyone else ever get a chance to solve the puzzle. And let's not forget there's also the real possibility that the government is being manipulated by the extraterrestrials for their own purposes.
You could have released this tape to the news media, but you insisted on being paid for it. Doesn't that cast doubt on your own motives?
Yes, and I was aware of that going in, but that's a cross I'm prepared to bear. I find it disgusting that the most important event in human history is being kept secret simply because certain unimaginative officials have the power to do so. But at the same time, I do see the irony in my own actions. All I can say is, had I had the choice, I would not have insisted on profiting from this revelation. But since by lifting this veil, I've endangered not only my career, but possibly my life, I felt the need for some small measure of monetary freedom to deal with any eventualities. And let me say, I could have demanded significantly more money than I did if I had been willing to compromise my anonymity. There have been other whistleblowers who jumped at the chance to become celebrities, which I think casts even more doubt on their motives than some people may be casting on mine.
Do you believe your life is in danger as a result of making this tape public?
I would hope not. I would like to think my government is a little more civilized than that. But at the same time, I don't intend to give them the chance to prove me wrong. At any rate, to a certain extent, I'm counting on being disbelieved. Obviously, they would like me to be perceived as a hoaxer. If something were to happen to me, if I should die suddenly in a freak accident, it would obviously lend credence to my story, and I assume they understand that and will act or not act accordingly.